Hello everybody, my name is Dr. Nune Melik. I am a concert violinist, an educator, and a specialist of the music of the Caucasus. Since 2010, I dedicate a large amount of my career endeavors to promoting the music of the lesser-known composers of the Caucasus. And today I would like to talk a little bit about the origins of the Armenian classical music. Are you ready? Get comfortable in your seats and let's go. As an ancient nation, Armenians have an extensive history of arts, including music. And already in the 3rd century BC, Armenians developed a musical art form. During the Urartu Empire, to which modern Armenians right now tracing their roots, the culture was celebrated. And the Urartu Empire existed from the 8th century BC up until the 6th century AD. And during that time, Armenians created the highly artistic myths about the Armenian king Ara and also the Assyrian queen Semiramis. And the Urartu Empire was a sort of mix of both Eastern and Western traditions, and also the Assyrian influence was extremely important there. This is why the references towards the Assyrian legends and personages is pretty relevant. Armenia's most glorious days date from 189 BC until 12 AD. And during the reign of Tigranes the Great, which were from 95 until 55 BC, Armenian culture attained the height never seen before, and there were so many musicians that were invited to the court. There were so many artists that were loved and protected by Tigranes the Great that of course it resulted into a burst of culture and new beginnings for the empire. The first mention about Armenian music can be found in the works of such historians as Movses Khorenatsi and Pastos Buzand. And Movses Khorenatsi was the author of the history of Armenia, sort of the first chronicles of the nations. And in that book and in that labor, he first describes the Armenian musicians, the street musicians, the sort of master singers called Gousons. The Gouson art flourished from the 5th century AD, and according to Borchard, Gousons were allowed everywhere. They were highly respected, and they were playing on folk instruments. They were singing and narrating on the streets of Armenia. Gousons were extremely sophisticated and elaborated. Their texts were filled with beautiful narratives. They were not only the authors of the music but also the poets at the same time. And they were replaced later on in the 17th century by ashuks, which were very close to them in the spirit but used a little bit more simplified language and musical forms. Gousons use the Khaz notation system, and this is an extremely interesting fact about Armenian culture and music in general, is that Armenians is the only nation in the world that used 3 notation systems: the Khaz system, the Limondjian system, and the Western notation. And if you would like, I will maybe later on make a video about these notation systems, because it is an extremely interesting and fascinating subject. But right now, let's get back to Gousons. Gousons were very elaborated, sophisticated writers, whereas ashuks were more of simplified version of them, and this is why they were so well regarded on the streets and loved by simple people. And one of the most important traditions in Armenian folk music is mourning tradition. And in 1002, Grigor Narekatsi wrote what is now one of the most beautiful monuments to this tradition, to this mourning tradition. It is called the Book of Mourning Songs. Now, Grigor Narekatsi was an Armenian theologian and poet. He was an extremely religious man. And the Book of Mourning Songs contains more than 10,000 lines, and this book has been translated later on numerous languages. Its first edition was published in 1513 in Venice, and its full version was published in 1673 by Voscan-Yerevanzi in the French city Marseille. In 301, an event of extreme importance occurred. Armenians accepted Christianity as their state religion, thus becoming the first Christians in the world. And of course, this event reflected in the culture and music of the nation. For example, all these pagan songs that were glorifying sun and fire were banned, replaced by the songs that were celebrating love and faith, and they were more Christian. In the 5th century, another extremely important event took place, the creation of Armenian alphabet by Mesrop Mashtots, and that facilitated writings of liturgical works and hymns. The art of hymns, Armenian sharakans, reached its climax with the works of Nesesh Norhali. And since Armenians are monotheist, they believe that God is one. Armenian church tradition was also monophonic. They thought that if God is one, the voice that has to celebrate it also has to be only one. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like it and also subscribe to my channel, so like this you will never miss a bit from the history of the music of the Caucasus. My name is Dr. Nune Melik.